The truth behind the Bruins' lack of success as of late has been revealed by Marco Sturm, including some events to pile on top of that from last night's game against the Montreal Canadiens. Really gives us a very good insight as to what is coming next for the Boston Bruins. We're going to be breaking that down as well as going over a few moves that this team has made, including one update regarding a top Bruins prospect getting some very good news, and we're going to be seeing them sooner than expected. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we do jump into this video, I just want to say a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you guys. I appreciate all your support throughout this year, and of course, tomorrow likely won't have a video, but right after that, Boxing Day, the start of the World Juniors, you know we're going to have all the updates back here once again. So like I said, I appreciate all of you guys throughout this year, so far in this season, last season, watching these videos day in and day out, and we got no sign of slowing down. So once again, probably no video tomorrow, but after that, we're getting every day once again. So once again, thank you very much, all of you guys watching this video. But let's jump into a little bit of yesterday's game, kind of going over, first of all, what Marco Sturm kind of said and did, which caused a bit of kind of commotion among Bruins fans. Now, going straight into the hockey stat card, I just wanted to pull this up for, an overlook. I'm not going to jump into any player in specific, but this game was a pretty bad collapse in the fourth period. That was more so where this game did come from. First two periods wasn't the worst. And of course, there were a few things that could have switched this game on its head, gave the Bruins the momentum, including a called back goal, and then another, or I should say a pair of challenges that should have been flip-flopped by Marco Sturm, ultimately kind of putting the Bruins in this place, and this was a winnable game, and I think that's one positive thing to say. But Marco Sturm did speak out on that challenge, and this is what he had to say about it. He said the Bruins opted not to challenge the no-goal call on the Elias Lindholm waved off goal in the second period because A, it was a called goal on the ice, and B, they felt like Pastrnak's stick looked like it was in the goalie's pad during the scramble. Now, with that, of course, challenging one that was a clear goal, it kind of makes sense. I get where Marco Sturm is, but there are not a lot of people happy with him from this decision. But one thing to kind of show it a positivity, I guess, is that this is really the first time that Marco Sturm has made a mistake. And for a, first-time NHL coach having at this point in the season and being just one thing like this, that's a pretty good, kind of track record so far. So, of course, that's a game you really have to win, especially against the Montreal Canadiens, let alone in an Atlantic team. You wish you had that one back, but so far, Marco Sturm has been still doing a great job. And I mean, having this one mistake, that's, that will happen. That's something that, it will come with it. He's not the only one making that decision either. There's a whole team, so, I'm not putting too much blame on Marco Sturm here, even though it certainly would be his doing to make the final call on that or not. And ultimately, it did end up in, the way the Bruins didn't want this game to go. But I mean, when you're looking at as well, kind of the way it went, having a 2-1 lead going out of the first, having that goal at the end of the second called back, being up 3-2 would have been there. You really collapsed in the fourth period. Would that have changed the momentum? Absolutely. But like I said, it's not a one-man effort. It's not just on your coach. Your team has to hold it in. Jeremy Swayman collapsed just a little bit in that third period and ultimately led to the Montreal Canadiens taking this one in Boston. And although it was a full tilt game, quite a few penalty minutes, it was a pretty even game. 28 shots, 29 by the Montreal Canadiens. Hits, the Boston have that. Also, they were leading on faceoffs. So, I mean, there really was no excuse to lose this game, especially against the Montreal team whose goaltenders have really been struggling. But Jacob Fowler played a great game. Had he been off, would have been a completely different game. Same goes for Jeremy Swayman in that third period. It really shows the, importance of what it's like to have some very, very solid goaltenders. But with all of this coming and all of this happening right now, it's not a great spot for the Bruins, but luckily that was the last game before the holiday break, and heading into this is one very important rest for this Bruins team, who, just like every other team in the NHL, has been on such a busy schedule due to the Olympics. And Marco Sturm did speak out about that and gave his reasoning as to why this team may not be playing the greatest. He said, "For me, it's a lot of individual mistakes, fatigue. Guys were just mentally not sharp, and you can see it. It seems like all week we've never really had that confidence we couldn't find our mood. So, Marco Sturm, you're seeing it though, but he continues on saying those guys, you can tell they're trying. That certainly is the case, and I don't want to say that because there's instances where we've seen this Bruins team go absolutely crazy, but then things like this, the body's getting tired. It's kind of a crazy schedule difference, I guess, when you take into consideration a full month pretty much taken out of the calendar and thrown in across the remainder of the season. So hopefully this break is going to be good for this team. I imagine it will, and especially when you're looking at where we are in the standings right now, just ahead of Buffalo, who have 2 games in hand on us, and they're only 1 point behind. They're on a 7-game win streak. It could be a tough situation for the Bruins, and I mean, this is why it's so important to win these games. 1 win, you're at the top of the wild card. 1 loss, you're dropping down to, 9th in the Atlantic. It's a in the Eastern Conference. It's just a very, very tough situation to be in right now, so that's why every game matters, and especially against the Atlantic, but it's just going to be a matter of time until we see what happens. And once again, a lot of this stuff coming down and going over, but this holiday break is going to be very important for this team. Just not even think about hockey and get back to it when they do return, I believe on the 27th or 28th, one of the two. So let me know what you thought about the game, specifically the challenges here in the comments below. But we do have a few more updates before we do finish the video off. And as you saw just then, Bill Frazier tweeted this out yesterday. And of course, I didn't have the video yesterday, but Victor Soderstrom was sent down to Providence as Vladislav Kolyachuk got his debut and ultimately wasn't horrible. He played a role, certainly is one that, will be growing when he does get there, but the defense needed a change, and that was, the start of it. And like I said, it's not going to be 1 game immediately you're jumping in, getting used to the system. That will take time, especially on a defensive kind of scheme the way the Bruins have. So it's only a start. I think we're going to see a lot more things kind of drop about all of this and, see how it does play out when it comes down to, mid-January, early March, I guess, with no February being on the calendar. But luckily, another big break in February there as well. So it's going to be an important, kind of 2 months here, or I guess 1 month really, of January when these teams do return. And hopefully the Bruins can kind of, like I said, get that rest and get going. But we've spoken about moves are going to be made. But it all really kind of comes down to who's got the cardio, who don't, who's ready to go game in and game out, and who's working and who's not. So that's still something that we just can't even really tell yet, but we know changes are being made. Now, we do have another update here, and this one is one that I'm very excited to kind of talk about. Will Zellers has officially made the World Junior roster for Team USA. Now he's joining James Hagens, but initially when the roster was announced, Will Zellers was not on it. Will Zellers was not even considered, and we made a video, and I think that a lot of people really started to comment on it, and that's where Team USA was like, hey, we're missing 1 big guy, and I mean, Will Zellers has absolutely been deserving of making this team. 15 points in 18 games in his first year with the University of North Dakota, and 10 goals of those 15 points. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, and given this opportunity to be on the big stage, I think a lot more people are now going to know his name, really, other than folks from Minnesota, Colorado fans, who, of course, we did acquire him from, and Bruins fans. I think you're going to get a lot more attention towards Will Zellers here from this tournament, so I'm super excited to see how that goes. And that's all starting in 2 days' time. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have here in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. And once again, I want to wish you guys a happy holidays, Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Your guys' support's been incredible. So, take some time, spend it with family, stay safe, and, I'll be back on Boxing Day. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.